Getting stressed trying to organize all those final details? Need someone who could help answer those last minute questions? This week we discuss why you should consider hiring a day of coordinator for your wedding.
You're listening to Tying the Knot, a podcast by Donna Weddings and Events, sharing the secrets you need to plan every detail of your wedding, celebration, or event.
Welcome to the Tying the Knot podcast. My name is Thomas. I'm here with the owner and lead coordinator of Donna Weddings and Events, Alana.
Hello.
This week we're going to discuss everything you need to know about hiring a day of coordinator. We're going to talk about what a day of coordinator does and how important it can be to have one. So Alana, for those that don't exactly know what a day of coordinator is, maybe you could just explain briefly what a day of coordinator does.
A day of coordinator is basically an expert that's with you on your wedding day to really just make sure that everything is going according to plan, as well as help you organize and put together all the final details leading up to the wedding. Typically for us, we like to start like about 90 days prior to one's wedding date.
Right. That's a good time frame for getting everything organized, learning who the vendors are, reaching out to everybody, that kind of stuff. So jumping right in, who do you think a day of coordinator benefits the most?
A day of coordinator, I mean, anyone can really benefit from having one. But for us, it's really for someone who already has a bulk of the planning done, but needs help just organizing all those final details, creating their day of timeline for them, confirming with all their vendors, making sure all the payments are up to date.
So a day of coordinator, like we said, comes in about typically 30 days, but we like to do 90 days because we like to have things organized. They're there to make sure everything runs smoothly, right? So if you could maybe talk about the timeline a little bit, what entails in the timeline? Is it detailed? Is it kind of like, okay, well, you come here at this time, you go there at that time? For
me, I like to start the timelines from when they wake up in the morning and starting with hair and makeup. And then, we move on from when the photographers arrive to do, first look photos. And then when, the time transportation's going to be arriving, if they're moving from point A to point B for the ceremony. It really is, it's very detailed, really down to the minute, and it goes all the way through cake cutting and final dance of the night. But we really like to include everything that we possibly could to make sure, nothing's missed throughout the day.
I know a couple of times we've been in a situation where we've gone to a venue and met up with the maitre d' because we do provide timelines for everybody, all the vendors, the maitre d' at the venue, and the maitre d's have been so grateful that everything was so organized. So that's a plus to have a day of coordinator, especially one so detailed that everybody's on the same page moving forward throughout the night, so there's no hiccups.
Right. And I think how the venue benefits from having one of the timelines that we create with the couple is they don't have to worry about pulling the couple aside before they eat dinner and asking them, what time they want to do cake cutting, or if there's any other special dances or anything else that's going to be going on throughout the evening. So just to have that all on paper, it just allows the couple to be able to fully enjoy their evening and not get pulled aside for anything. And it allows, the venue to be able to just kind of handle what they have to do and not have to worry about finding someone to ask if certain things are going to be happening or not.
So that's going to lead me right into my next question. What do you think is the most beneficial part of hiring a coordinator?
I think that just giving couples peace of mind, knowing that they have experts there to ask questions and to be there for them on the wedding day, and obviously just helping them in the final months with all the organizing and planning. But another big thing is when I start working with a lot of my day of coordination clients and just on phone calls and just having basic conversation, there's a lot of things that, I bring up to clients that they didn't even think about. For most people, this is their first wedding.
Right. They haven't planned 4 or 5 weddings before.
Right. So there's a lot of things that like, oh, I had no clue. I didn't know that I needed that. Or, oh, I didn't know the venue doesn't provide that. And
right. I think something as simple as even, the cake cutting knife and the serving utensil.
Most venues will have a standard knife that you could cut, but some people for photo purposes might want something customized, or didn't think, they thought that maybe the venue provide the tea light candles on the table when they don't, and they have to get it from their florist, or they have to bring it in themselves. Just little things that we go down a list and we ask.
Or even sometimes I know we ran into this, what time they can actually get into the venue.
Right. I think, a lot of times, and it makes sense, I mean, like I said, this is most clients' first time planning a wedding. You think like, oh, I'm getting married here today, I have full access all day. Like, that's typically not how it works. If your cocktail hour starts at 5, you'll probably be allowed in at 3. That's, of course, if you're not getting married there and having the ceremony. But a lot of people, think that they just have access throughout the day, and that's not how it works. So usually we have to come up with some sort of a plan. If you planned on taking pictures there, if we have enough time from when being allowed into the venue, or having a rain plan.
Right, and these are all details that a coordinator thinks about. But onto the third topic, I think we see a lot of this, I'll have my mom do it, or I'll have my maid of honor do it. Maybe you could talk a little bit about why mom, best friend, might be a little difficult to see all these things that a professional and an expert would.
Over half of my consultations that I do with couples that are looking to hire a day of coordinator, one of the biggest things that they all say to me is that I was going to have my mom do it, or, my maid of honor was going to take care of this. And then they realized 3 months before the wedding that this was all becoming too much and it was too stressful. I always say, your family and your bridal party, they really should be enjoying themselves, as the day is special for them too. So, having a coordinator kind of eliminates having the members of your family or members of your bridal party have to worry about making sure the flowers are arriving on time, and why the limos are late, and if items are set up correctly at the venue.
Right, and we've had that. We did a wedding where you had the floral arrangement and you came into the wedding to double check everything, and we were missing the orchids.
Right.
In the vases.
Right. It happened at my own wedding.
Yes.
Florist didn't. The florist was late. Driving from Miami,
flat tire,
to Key Largo,
and then broke down.
Yeah, we heard multiple stories, little things like that. Or
well, in that situation, to tell everybody that's listening, the event coordinator that we were supposed to have from the venue wasn't there.
No, she didn't show up. She did not show up.
But this is the importance of having a professional from the outside,
right,
who could see things, and not having mom, dad, brother worrying about everything else, because there's a lot that goes into the day and all those little details that you may want. Like you were saying, the tea lights on the table, maybe they're not on the table, or they need to be lit. And those are things that the coordinator and their assistants that they're working with are able to pick up.
Weddings are an event for some where family might be coming together for the first time in a while. Like I said, for my own wedding, siblings and cousins haven't been together for years. So to be able to have everyone just be able to be together and enjoy the day and not have to be taken away to handle like various tasks, I think is comforting.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing somebody's there to make sure everything is perfect for you and you don't have to worry about it, I think is great. Keeping with that family kind of thought, is a coordinator a good thing for conflict resolution, whether it be with vendors or even with some family members?
Though we hate to see it happen, it unfortunately just does, where a vendor and a client may run into some sort of a disagreement. So to have someone outside that's not directly involved with the venue or the vendors as a buffer.
Well, I guess kind of as an advocate, right? You're there as an advocate for the couple.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, it doesn't happen all the time, but it unfortunately does happen at times, and can make things a bit uncomfortable. But to have someone there to kind of create a solution that maybe you didn't think of.
Right, solve the problem.
Right,
instead of making it bigger.
Yeah, and whoever you have as your coordinator, they should be able to solve problems efficiently and make sure both parties are happy.
Well, I also think it's nice because the couple doesn't have to confront a vendor about something, and then there's a little bit of animosity sometimes going into the wedding day, and you don't want that. You want everything to be nice and smooth, run perfectly, and the coordinator kind of runs that buffer to say, hey, listen, this is what they want. This is what could we do to work this out. Do you even see that sometimes with family members?
Unfortunately, yeah, it happens. One of the questions that I asked in the beginning when I started doing this, if there was any family issues that we should be aware of, because the worst thing is, showing up on the wedding day and finding out that bride and mother-in-law don't talk, or bride and sister-in-law don't talk, or whatever the situation is. I want to know going into the event.
Right, exactly. To know what's going on, who's supposed to be where, what the possible conflicts are, what the resolution is. That's very important to know.
And it's not, no one should be embarrassed about it. We Every wedding has some sort of family conflict. It's not, it's nothing you should be ashamed about. And we do work very closely, whether you're hiring us for day of coordinating or I'm working with you for 2 years. We really become like family in a way. So there's nothing that you should feel embarrassed.
I think sometimes, I know you're on the phone a lot of times with couples or brides or grooms that they just want to vent.
Yeah.
And, it's a good thing. It's somebody to vent to, somebody that's an impartial person to talk to and just say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. And with bringing back up the family, if you do have an issue with sister-in-law to be or an aunt, whatever it is, it kind of eliminates you having to have much interaction with them by having a coordinator. You can have your coordinator or whoever's there with your coordinator run and get them for pictures or
right.
Ask them to please not sit at the incorrect table or whatever it is. You kind of eliminate having to even interact with them
right
on your wedding day.
And I think that's great. And I think the one of the most important topics that we're going to talk about now is the big difference between a venue coordinator or an event coordinator, as some of the venues call it, and an actual outside day of coordinator. Because every venue, and we love our venues, has a coordinator for the venue.
Right. And, again, we love the venues that we work with and they all do a great job. But one of the other big things that I get on my calls with couples who want to hire us for day of coordinating is they didn't think it was important to hire somebody because their venue had a coordinator and they were going to handle everything. And then when it comes down to 3 months prior, they realize like, oh, my venue's not going to do all these outside confirmations or handle
the limos.
Right.
Handle the church or the outside venue you might be getting married at.
Right. And they shouldn't. It's not that they're doing something wrong. They can't do that. They're in charge of the venue and managing their entire staff efficiently, on the floor and staff in the kitchen.
Yeah, making sure your orders are in, and that's where you want them. That's very important to make sure they have the right food order, to make sure they have all the things in place that need to be there, your correct linens picked out and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And if it's done correctly, when we go into the venue, which is typically in a perfect world an hour prior to the couple arriving, we would sit down with the venue coordinator, the manager, the maitre d', and, make sure that we're all on the same page, going over that timeline that we discussed. But with the exception of sitting down with them at the beginning of the evening, we really don't cross paths again.
Right, because your focus is the couple and making sure that the vendors are there and the musicians, the bands, or the DJ has the right information for the dances and the announcements, the introductions, and they're focused on the venue, making sure the food is getting out, making sure
right.
things are getting cleaned up.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that people don't realize, that when you go in and they say, oh, we have a venue coordinator, that it's just that
right.
for the venue.
Right. And that's, as a bride, that's where you want the venue coordinator. You don't want to see them on the floor watching your first dance. You want them in the kitchen, like taking care of everything behind the scenes that no one's seeing. You don't want to see them just walking around the venue. They're not doing anyone a service doing that.
And your day of coordinator is with you usually from your ceremony to the church.
Sometimes the hotel, depending on the hours that we discuss. It's sometimes from hair and makeup through the end of the night, or sometimes it's ceremony through cake cutting. It just depends.
And sometimes that's going to the hotel and picking up a second dress or a change of clothes and making sure it's there for the bride, which is something that your venue coordinator is not going to do. They're not going to leave the venue, come to your hotel, pick up what you need, go to the ceremony, go back to the venue, because we want them at the venue. That's where they're best suited. And that's why a day coordinator, I feel, is so important, because they're your advocate.
And I think because we are dealing with the couple for day of coordinating for over 2-3 months, we really get to know exactly what they want out of the night, just down to little details. Like, it's really important for me to have 15 minutes after the ceremony to be able to just sit with my new husband and just relax. And you might get somebody that's like, oh, come on, you got to go here. You got to take pictures. And where we could jump in and say, no, they're going to start pictures in a half hour. Like, this is their time now.
I think one of the best was the no cell phone, the no iPhone pictures at one wedding. There was a lot of pictures being taken, and we stepped in for people wanting to jump up and take pictures with their iPhone. And we were there as a buffer and said, no pictures with the iPhones, where the maitre d' and the venue coordinator were off taking care of the food service at that point in time.
And, again, the venue might feel uncomfortable saying that to guests where we don't.
No, we're there honoring the couple's wishes.
Even at a recent wedding, the DJ came and set everything up, but we realized when everything was set up and an hour before cocktail, they didn't have the photo booth. Like, they completely forgot it. And luckily, we were able to let them know, and it was their error, but they were able to call an outside company to be able to come and set up a photo booth in time for their reception. So the venue doesn't have any clue about that.
Right. And I think that's a great way to kind of segue into wrapping this up, is that a coordinator is important because they know all the details of your wedding.
Right.
They know from the flowers to what the DJ is supposed to bring to your wishes, as far as a lot of ceremonies now are going no phones at all. Put them away. And we make that announcement.
Yeah, hands-free reception.
Right. So day of coordinator knows exactly what you want. They're your advocate. They're there for you. So I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. If you have any questions about day of coordination, please feel free to reach out to us, belladonnaweddings.com. You can email us at info@belladonnaweddings.com. Check us out on Instagram @belladonnaweddings. Find us on Facebook. This is up on YouTube. Go there and check it out. Click subscribe, hit that notification bell. That's going to do it for us this week. My name is Thomas.
I'm Alana.
And we'll see you guys next week.